And there's been another twist in the Elon Musk Twitter saga. Tesla owner Elon Musk has now said that he won't go ahead with the Twitter deal unless assured that less than 5% accounts on the social media platform are fake or bots. Earlier today, Elon Musk gave his strongest hint that he is likely to pay less than what he offered initially for Twitter last month, which was about $44 billion. Musk told a Miami technology conference that a viable deal at a lower price would not be out of the question. Is that possibly the reason that Musk has been trolling the Twitter team, and especially Twitter CEO Parag Agrawal, on the same platform? So Parag Agrawal yesterday posted a series of tweets explaining his claim that less than 5% of Twitter accounts are fake, but Elon Musk believes it could be as high as 20%. I'm now joined by Manish Maheshwari. He's former chief of Twitter India, to speak more on this. Manish, great to chat with you. First, give us a sense, what exactly is Musk trying to do? Is he trying to get out of the deal or buy Twitter for cheap?
Yeah, let me just start by a disclaimer. So I'm not at Twitter, and I think whatever I'm saying, it's based on whatever is publicly available, which you are also reading. I'm also reading. The only difference is that I have a somewhat better perspective because I was at Twitter some time back. So my view on the current situation is that the public markets have corrected significantly, almost by 20% in the last 1 month. So from the date the deal was signed for 44 billion to now, I think the Twitter price have gone down, and also in general, NASDAQ has corrected, right? So there is clearly a business reason to renegotiate given the situation. Having said that, how do you do that? Because I think the way the deal was signed, Elon had given up the rights for due diligence. That's what it seems to me. Now, with that backdrop, it appears to me that the number of bot accounts seems to be a very solid and a valid reason for him to create pressure. And the way he is doing it in public, and the way he is, putting Twitter folks, on one side and making them react on Twitter itself, shows that he's clearly playing hardball there. And clearly, my sense is the intention there is to figure out how the deal can be renegotiated. That's what I feel as of today, looking at all the tweets that have come from Elon over the last 2-3 days, and also the reaction from Parag defending the point of view that indeed the spam accounts are less than 5%, as they had claimed in their filing.
So, Manish, any insight on the number of spam bots? Because that is at the core of the fight, isn't it? Parag Agrawal, the CEO of Twitter, says it's less than 5% of users. Musk says it could be as high as 20% of users. How many do you think there are?
Well, see, I don't know the exact number of spam or bot accounts. Clearly, this is something which I think I never looked into, or it was not something managed from India at the time I was in India. What I can say for sure is that as a platform, Twitter is a platform for public opinion and for people to express themselves. And therefore, they allow anonymity and also pseudonymity, right? I mean, anyone can sign up, and there is no compulsion for them to disclose their real identity. Now, there's a reason why there is a policy like that, which is because they want anyone to express themselves without any fear or favor, right? And anonymity and pseudonymity allows people to do that. Now, the moment you have that policy, it also allows people to open multiple accounts and also have different personalities, right? I mean, what I know for sure is that in different countries, people have different personas, and they sign up with different email IDs and different phone numbers. So that is there. Now, coming to the question of bot accounts, clearly there could be a business reason to have bot account, and there could also be, not so valid reason to have bots, right? Many of the services by many of the applications rely on bot-based, interfaces, right? For example, if you want to get an update on your stock, if it crosses a certain price point and get an alert, or if you want something to be auto-posted from your feed, there is a valid business reason and a valid use case to allow that. Now, the question here is, okay, what part of that is legitimate, valid, and has a user need, and what part of that is being manipulated? And that's a number that probably, something that requires to be looked into. And I mean, I won't have that exact number, but what I can say for sure is that it appears that the bone of contention is both the claim of the number being less than 5% and also the method through which it has been calculated. And that is what has been called into question by Elon in his public tweets. In fact, in his own way, in a very mischievous and a joking way, he talked about the fact that a sample size of 100 is what it is. Without actually saying it is sample size of 100, he hinted at that number is how it has been calculated. And the other tweet I saw from Elon talks about the fact that if you can't explain your method, is that something you want me to take as a good argument? So clearly, there is a lot going on there. But at the back of it, I feel like this is a tactic that Elon is doing to really push Twitter to a corner and extract what he wants to extract, which probably is a better price or probably better terms now, given that public markets have corrected.
You're calling it joking and mischievous, Manish. I think, you're being kind because Elon, some would say, is bullying the Twitter top brass on their platform. I mean, what is with all the poo emojis? And do you think if he really wants to drive a better bargain, this is the ethical way of doing it? The number of spam bots was always in contention. How has he suddenly realized whether it's 5% or 20%?
Yeah, so my personal opinion, based on whatever I have seen publicly available, I think whenever a deal is signed, it is signed on the basis of certain representations and warranties. So I'm sure Twitter must have given some representation and warranties. And it appears that Elon feels like some of them are very different from what he was led to believe. And I think that is where it is. Now, I don't think he has a legal case to go after it. So when you don't have a legal case, the next thing you do is a public embarrassment. And I think that is what he's causing. It's, the way Parag reacted tells you that how much Twitter was sort of, arm twisted, so to say, on their own platform to sort of react to all the accusation made by Elon. So, I can't say how ethical it is, but it is clearly a platform on which you can express opinion and you can express your point of view. And I think Elon is doing exactly that. And if he's not liking, he's calling it out and he's calling it out publicly. And, that's what this platform is all about. So I think he is following the guidelines of the platform. And that's where things are.
Yep. The other issue at the center of the entire debate, and one of the reasons that Elon wants to buy Twitter, is whether Twitter actually protects free speech and, why they banned Donald Trump, etc. Now, this is obviously something that you must have faced when you were heading Twitter here in India. It was very contentious. That is Twitter blocking some people? Is it elevating some people's tweets even more? Brings us perspective, Manish, on the whole free speech debate and how Twitter handles it.
Yeah, so I think that is the core of all the discussion that is happening, I think, globally between all the platforms and also all the governments. And also that seems to be a major point of discussion between what Elon believes is free speech versus how the platform is behaving. Now, my perspective is, I think I watched it from a distance because clearly I was in India then. And the content moderation or the team that looks at, what tweets go where, that is managed outside India. I mean, the team is not based in India. So my read there is clearly there is a certain guidelines or policies around, what is allowed, what is not allowed. And that is, I think, laid out in their website as well. If you go to the website and they talk about like civic integrity policy, they talk about, harmful content policy, and they frame these policies with all the good intent, right? For example, if something is causing law and order situation, you don't want to see those tweets. And I think they have a certain view of doing that. Now, the question is, you can frame policies with all the good intent, but ultimately, these policies are enforced by some humans at some point in time, right? And I think the moment you have some human beings interpreting these policies and then deciding, hey, this tweet fulfills, is fair as per the policy and this tweet is not correct. And I think they start taking that call. That is where you see some bias entering. And I think every human being has a bias. And I think to that extent, being a Bay Area company, having certain ethos, certain way of looking at things, some bias does enter, right? Now, that's where situation has been, right? And I think it does impact what stays and what goes down. Now, what I hear from Elon, and I think this is, again, my interpretation, I think his view of free speech is that whatever is allowed by the law of a country. And I think that's a very broad and a very simplistic definition. I think in principle, that seems like okay, but the question is, which law and how do you ensure that happens the way the law says, right? I mean, I think that is where the difference comes in, because each country has its own law. And the challenge of running a platform like Twitter is that these tweets are global. Once you tweet something, anyone in any country can see it. So what is okay in UK may not be okay in, say, Germany, or maybe okay in Japan and may not be okay in South Africa, right? So how do you then do that? So country level variations will come in. That's one. Second is, who will interpret the law? Because law is also not black and white, right? I mean, so you have to then look at the law of a land, and then you have to look at the tweet content, and then you have to take a judgment call saying, okay, this is as per this or not, right? So that's a tough one, right? Easier said than done. And I think my heart goes out to people who try to do it. And I think it's not a Twitter only problem. I think every platform suffers from that. The moment you have user-generated content, and then you have to sort of figure out how to decide what stays and what goes down, that's where the challenges start coming, right? So I watched it from a distance, and that's my view on sort of the whole dynamics behind it.
Well, I think our heart also goes out to the Twitter CEO, who has to lob a lot of free speech coming in from Elon Musk right now and figure out what he wants to do next. But thanks, Manish, for joining in today and giving us perspective on this very interesting story. That's all the time we have on Beyond the Headline, but we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. See you then.